guys, we're on our second episode for today. I'm here with Mr. Cooper that owns ChiMedical Group over in Phoenix City. He wanted to be on the podcast. We actually just got done doing both of his vehicles, his Hummer EV and then his GMC Denali. And I told him that we were hosting a podcast, and he was all about it. So Mr. Cooper has been in business for some time now, and I think he's a seasoned entrepreneur. And I just wanted to ask him some questions because I myself am a young entrepreneur, and I would love to learn from somebody like you that has grown to the success that you have. And the first question that I always ask people coming on the podcast is, why entrepreneurship and what prompted you starting this facility?
Well, there's a couple of things. And you may get my wife perplexed if I don't say this part. It'd be Dr. Stephen Cooper. She'll go crazy on the first thing. And she's right. So it takes a little bit to do that. And she always reminds me that it's important because not for the title, but for what it represents and for what you do and decisions you make. But for me, and it really leads into the next question. As a doctor, once you get your license, you go into practice, you're treating people. That's the first part of it. And they used to say that most doctors have a spasm of entrepreneurship because they open up a clinic, right?
Yep.
But then comes the next thing is, do you now become in the business of healthcare and the business of chiropractic, or do you just own an office? And for me, we began to grow at such a rate, and the demand, the need for out there, for the way how we went about what we do. I always had a desire to create a type of a clinic that was multidisciplinary, something that's really not seen in this area and seen in this region, where you've had a chiropractic-led facility that has medical doctors and physical therapists and nurse practitioners and PAs. And at one point we've had an ortho up in our Atlanta group, but we have an internal med doctor, and we have a physical therapist and PTAs. And yet many times we're all working together on the same patient. There are some that are led medically, there's some that are done differently, but because it's led through a physical medicine concept with chiropractic, the results we're able to do, and it allowed us to take that concept and to move it into multiple facilities. And it's really given us an opportunity to do something that, I had dreamed about years ago, but now we're seeing the fruition of it. And we're building a new office now, and we're going to be opening up a few more here in the next few years. So we're excited about it.
That's awesome. So leading into our next question is, what advice would you give someone that is just starting their own business?
I would say, first of all, you need to learn how to be grateful for the small things and every step along the way. A lot of times there are small victories that we have in business, and rather being grateful and thankful, thanking God for that, just being great. Man, we're able to get our light bills paid today. We're able to get this, because the first goal of a business is to be in business tomorrow. That's the first goal, right? And if you don't create that, if you don't survive that, then the long term doesn't matter. And many times those first initial victories, we don't really honor it. So, you don't really get a chance to get the bigger ones, right? And so that's the first one. And it's kind of, I'm in the middle of writing a book, and I was driving home yesterday from Atlanta, and I was behind a car, the light's green, and it started stopping. I'm going, it's a traffic light. He stopped, and he told me I have to go around him. I go, why would you stop at a green light? And it hit me. It's because we don't call them traffic lights. We call them what? Stoplights. So even though you see it in your brain, it's a green light, but in your brain, I'm at a stoplight, and the car began to stop. And I thought, how many places in our lives do we see stoplights where they don't exist? Do we see something that really is a signal for us to maybe slow down, maybe make a turn, maybe do something else, but our brain begins to stop? And I watch a lot of people start to make strides in their life or in their business. Oh man, this and this and that. And for them, it's a challenge, and they stop and they don't go forward. So I would say the next thing is this is, success takes what it takes. And you just got to remember that there are challenges that you have to face. And those challenges are opportunities for you to grow and go in different directions. And if you stop, then that's just the end of that story. But if you make the next decision, you have an opportunity now to do something else and grow. New level, new devil. Every time you go, there's going to be other challenges you're going to face, but it's not supposed to be easy. So you just have to be willing to go through it.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
If it was easy, everybody would do it. Absolutely.
And having, I think the one word, resilience and persistence.
It's if you don't try, I'm from Detroit.
Yep.
And everybody, Michael Jordan and things like that. I watched coming up, and people watch him bulk up and get strong. But you know why? Because of the bad boys, because the Detroit Pit beat the snot out of Michael Jordan. Every time he come to Detroit, it was just, Lamb, Beer, and these guys would beat him. He had to get bigger, stronger, and better, and it made him who he was. If he didn't go through that, he doesn't become who he is. Exactly. We all are going to have to go through our own, our own challenges, getting beat down, whatever struggles we have to go through. But that also is what makes us who we can become. So it's either going to beat you down or it's going to make you a bigger, better person. And that's a decision each and every one of us have to make as we go through it.
So, this kind of goes into our next question, which is, how do you deal with fear and doubt? Because we all know that starting a business is really scary, and you have this constant thought of doubt in your brain, or what if this happens? What if that happens? How have you, overcome? How many employees do you have now?
It's kind of weird. I think we're at 44 employees.
That is a huge staff.
It is a huge staff. We were looking at our payroll and how much we paid out in payroll this past year, and it's like a number that I would not have contemplated, years ago. And, fear is false evidence appearing as real. It's something that comes before you, and many times it's nothing. It's like when a lion, I was reading a book once that said when a lion roars, he roars at the ground. And the reason that it makes the whole ground tremble and his voice echoes off. So the animal doesn't know where the lion is because the whole ground is so he runs, and many times runs right into the lion, does half his work for him. And so many times fear is doing something, and we make the mistake of responding to fear instead of creating a solution and spending your energy on a solution. So many people spend so much time on the fear part of it. If some came and said, oh, you got to pay some astronomical money in the next 30 days. Okay, but guess what? Your focus has to be the next car you do. My focus has to be my next patient. Why? Because I don't care what the problem is, not doing the next patient, not doing the next car certainly isn't going to solve the problem, right? So you've got to focus on the solutions and not focus on the problems, not get sidetracked on the things that aren't going to help you get to the next level. And so when I say fear is false evidence appearing as real, basically it's something that's in front of you, but most of the time, it's something that doesn't even come into fruition. Most of the time, it's not even something you even have to deal with the way you think you have to deal with it. But if you stop progressing, if you stop doing what you have to do, a train goes down the track. Is there friction? There's friction between the wheels and the rail.
There's always friction.
All right, there's always friction. So should the train stop because there's friction?
No.
You got to keep going, right?
Exactly.
And if you're going to have something in life, you got to deal with friction. You have to deal with it. You're not going to, it takes a lot of work to get rid of friction. I know they're doing it now with these bullet trains and magnets and all this other kind of stuff. But, for 99.9% of us, we're going to have to deal with friction to get to where we want to go. The tires deal with friction going down the road. If you're going to go somewhere, you're going to deal with friction, and the same thing in business. And don't let that slow you down or stop you.
I think that's great. And, I'm big on, I don't know if you've ever watched Andy Frisella or, Grant Cardone or all these big entrepreneurs, and they talk about, the most successful entrepreneurs in times of chaos, you're calm, cool, and collective.
I think that comes from Art of War. The army that continues to do the basics in the middle of the war is the one that will win. That's how you know the one that will win. And
I know best because, I'm come from the infantry.
Yep.
If you freak out and you let your emotions get the best of you, you will make poor decisions.
That's right.
And I just really think, just for the people that are infantry that are, going to transition out of the Army, I think you have the mindset to make a great entrepreneur, in my opinion. So, of the trilogy of, you creating these businesses, you have to have self-discipline. And with that, can you kind of explain to our audience, what routines you follow each day that have helped you become successful?
Discipline is a decision that you make before you even get started. If I'm going to be disciplined in something, that means I have to know where I'm going, right? You watch these guys that cut grass or you do anything where you do line after line after line. If you don't keep your eyes fixed on where you're going, that's not going to be a straight cut line. That fixation on your goal is what creates your discipline. Because if I'm running and I see the finish line, I can be very disciplined in moving in that direction, right, and getting that going. The moment I take my eyes off of where I'm going, I can wind up going sideways or zigzag or whatever, right? So what's the goal? For me, it becomes three things. One, I have to stay spiritually disciplined to make sure that I understand whose I am and why and the blessings that are in front of me. Next, physically disciplined. There was a time, it was kind of funny, I had stopped working out as much. And man, I was coming home, I was hurt. I mean, between me and the other doctor, our clinics all in all probably see somewhere around 250 patients a day between the clinics. I'm physically seeing maybe 40 or 50. It's a lot of work. You come home, you're tired, sore, and then I'm there. My son, he was at West Point at the time, he comes home, and I feel him behind me, because I used to work out with him a lot, especially getting him ready to go. And I turned around, I was like, "Are you sizing me up, boy?" I don't believe it. I was like, "Oh, okay, I got this. Okay, I see." He went back to school. I cleared out the whole basement, put in a full gym, and got back to hitting it again. And that helped so much, not only with that time, just working out, getting back mentally focused, but at the same time giving me the stamina that I need to do what I got to do. I mean, if you can't physically perform at the level you need to perform, that's going to be an issue, no matter who you are. And then the next thing is become business focused and to be able to have that mentality. And basically that is deciding what it is you want to do. What is your business focus? And not let people drag you off in another direction. There was, during COVID, there was clinics open. "Oh man, you can be a COVID testing clinic. You can do this, you can do, oh man, there's a lot of money." Hey, that's great. But I'm a physical medicine office. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to be focused on what we do. We're going to come up with new ways to deal with knee pain, shoulder pain, back pain. We're going to look to, and now we are able to do some regenerative medicine with VA. We're going to look to see how we can we have this one device that we can actually stimulate new growth in tissues now, and VA's allowed us to do it.
And it's been,
man, it's been fantastic. So I said, we're going to spend our energy developing new ways to address conditions that people are not getting satisfactorily taken care of with. They're just getting steroid shots or told to take Motrin or something else. We're going to come up with ways to solve these issues, and that's going to be our mandate, and not get dragged off and doing these faddish or these other things that are, "Oh man, this guy got this device and this guy got," so that's great. Does it fit our purpose? No, then I really don't have much use for it.
And we had somebody on the show earlier today and kind of spoke to me. Quick money is bad money.
Yeah.
Focus on the long-term success of a company, because you know this more than anybody probably. Fast money, it comes and goes. But if you stay consistent and you practice what you preach and you're in it for the right reasons, your business will grow.
Yeah, and not to be so focused on, and this is the toughest part, especially for new entrepreneurs, not be so focused on the bottom line in the beginning. You have to put money back in your business. I could have lived a better lifestyle earlier in my career, but we kept putting money back in the business. I want this to be better. And they said, "Well, you don't need all that." I said, I realize I don't. But there is a mindset that I want to create when patients come to the door, that they see that this is the highest quality place that that we can put in front of them. That if you feed the business, then eventually the business will feed you. If you starve the business, then the business will starve you. And a lot of times I see a lot of business owners taking everything out of the business, and instead of investing back in the people, investing back in the organization, that has to be a priority. And I think that's something we've been able to find people who work with us, who buy into what we're doing, which allows us to grow and to accomplish the things we've been able to accomplish.
Culture. Big thing.
100%. My daughter is kind of our marketing person, and she's created our motto and our logo and things like that. And Taylor's been incredible at doing that. But in fact, we got a groundbreaking coming up for the new facility, and she created all the things for that. And it's funny because I can think of some other business people I know that when that business grows, the people who work for them, they're like, oh, they're like, oh, I got to do this additional work and everything else. Our clinic is buzzing about it. Our employees are so excited about what's coming and this and that, and we can do this and this and that. And that's what I mean. If they don't buy in and they're not a part of the growth and what you're trying to do, it's going to be very hard to really duplicate yourself the way you need to.
Oh, I totally agree. So this kind of goes directly into it. Where do you see the business in 5 years? I know that's way out there, but
oh, no.
I don't know. Have you ever heard of the concept of mind mapping?
Mind mapping, for me, as far as, you set your goal, then you forget your goal, but your brain is targeted towards the goal and it begins to target it that way. My wife and I, we were up in Atlanta this weekend for New Year's, and part of that was to sit down, look at everybody in the organization, look at our organization, speak our goal, where we want to go, what we want to create, what we want things to look like. So this is, something we just got through, something I just went through. But 5 years from now, we currently have 3 facilities. We will have 5 or 6, probably 6. The 6th one will be coming right on the heels of that 5 years. So it just depends upon how fast some other things go. Our current building is really focused on veterans and federally injured employees. It's 5,700 square feet, and it's facing a 5,000 square foot facility. So we'll have close to 11,000 square feet here in Phoenix City.
Wow.
We've got 8,700 square feet in Forest Park, and then we've got another 3,600 square feet in Decatur. But we want to put one up in North Georgia and South Georgia, and then out towards Augusta. So we know what we want to do. We know how to do it. We've got to get people trained. Our system isn't easy. It's difficult, our processing and our computer systems and how we do things, which is the getting people up to speed is really the toughest thing for us. But the things we have in place and what's coming, it's kind of interesting. We do see a lot of folks that come to us, and we have a lot of vets that drive sometimes an hour away. We got federal patients that come from Florida on up. We see them from Chattanooga, and they're like, I've never seen an office that has this, that are doing this. I go like, well, I know we're trying to get closer to you, but it's just, this is how we decide to do things, and the results speak for themselves. And as long as we stay result oriented, everything else begins to take care of itself. I find that a lot more business folks are more focused on the bottom line, the profit, keep your eye on the bottom line, and I get it, that's important. But if that's your primary focus, you won't make the investments sometimes you need to make that are going to be more costly, that won't bring a profit, $1 back. But those are the things that are going to get you more than you ever expected down the road.
So this is, not in the questions asked, but I think it's an important question to ask. What are your priorities as the CEO? Like, I'll share mine. My priorities, number one, are my team. Mm-hmm. Because if your team is not aligned with your goals, you're not going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And number two, is the customer service experience. I think businesses have absolutely lost this art, and I'm always wanting customers. I mean, heck, when we get off this podcast, I'm going to ask you, what can we do differently? Because that's how you get better. And in the Army, they teach after action reviews.
AARs, yep.
AARs, they're so important, and that's how you get better, and you're constantly evolving to the market changing, because in every industry, it's changing constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're not adapting, you're dying.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a reason that we go to mobile tech every year, because what's the new technology coming out? How can we be ahead? So,
Yeah. And
what
you
are your
guys are
priorities?
doing a lot of great things. I mean, just to be able to pay virtually on my phone and do different things like that is something that's, at this size of a business, to be doing that is extremely helpful. I mean, that takes, my phone is how I do, so much of my business is not even funny. And a lot of places, I got some folks, well, we can't take a credit card over the phone. You got to do that. It's like, oh, come on, really? What year is this again? But our focus is always, for us, is always that next patient. Is providing the quality of care that's uncommon, that they will not be able to breach anywhere else. To be able to bring to bear all the types of care that we can render to that specific patient's need. And here's the other thing, to find the cause of the problem, not just the problem. A lot of times folks come in the office and they'll say, yeah, I've got, my lower back is killing me. By the time we're done, it's really not their back. It's their hips and their knee. And because they're walking differently, because their hips and their knee, now they're having back pain. Meanwhile, you got somebody sticking needles in this person's back, stopping the pain, and it just gets worse, because the back was never the origin of the pain in the first place. So when we can figure out the cause of the problem, then we can get the result. And then, oh my goodness, why didn't I say, well, because our goal is to bring to bear everything we have towards that patient's need, and not just put somebody into a, here's what we do, you do this, this, and this, and this, and if that didn't work, then we send you out. And that's what's important to us. And so that's our focus, and that focus, I think, has done extreme. I mean, for example, I'm sure there aren't too many places. We have a veterans coordinator, Stephanie, who's there. I think you've probably spoken to her once or twice. That's all she does. And she's a vet herself, and she walks them through the whole process, what you need to do, how you get referrals, how you do this, how you get that. We do DBQs. She sets all that stuff up. I mean, that's all she does. And that's a cost. And so who in the world wants to put that kind of money into somebody to just do just that? So in the beginning, it was a pure deficit because we were only treating a few vets. But I also knew that if we want to make sure that they had the best experience possible, and that we wanted to grow that area, and we wanted to make sure that people got what they needed, we needed somebody who knew that world, who understood that medical world as well. She was a medic and could walk people through that process so that they can get the results that they need to get. And that's the whole thing. You got to make a decision first, and then from the decision, everything else comes from there.
So going into our next question, you've kind of touched on this, but how is your business impacting the local community / veteran community? It seems like, a large aspect of your business is the veteran community. How are you guys helping?
It's kind of funny, too, because it wasn't always that way. And then they started to call us, hey, why aren't you doing this? Why do that? Man, I'm feeling great. Blah, blah, blah. And so we began to go in that direction. And I think one is giving veterans options. So many times it's, well, yeah, I got an appointment, but it's not for 3 months. And then, and you got to understand, a physical condition doesn't stay the same for 3 months, right? It devolves. So we're not trying to make you wait 3 months. We want to get you in. We want to get active. If you played for one of these major teams, if you played for Alabama and you're having foot pain and you can't walk, you got a Liz Frank or you got some other issue, or you're not going to wait 3 months to get an appointment, right? They're going to bring everything to bear right then and right there. And that's kind of the same thing we want to do. We want to make it active care and not just give them Ranger candy, take this, go home and whatever. Instead, we want to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on this and we're going to create a game plan to get this taken care of. And I think those options and providing that branch of care, of course, all the referrals are coming from the VA. So the other thing is to get the doctors at the VA to buy in, to believe in what we're doing, and to make sure that they're a part of that, communicating with them so they're willing to not only do those referrals, but that they know that when they send somebody over, that that patient is going to get a high level of care and send back a quality person, say, thank you for that referral. Thank you for getting me there. And that, it helps. It has to be a buy-in from everybody in the system. And I think that's the most important thing. I think the main thing people want is hope for their healthcare issues. Folks are tired of being in pain. They don't want to be in pain. They want to live their lives. They want to do the things they want to be able to do. They want to be able to, you put 20 years in or 15 years in, you've been out over here, you've been in the desert, you've been all this crazy stuff. And now it's like, man, I'm retired and now I'm hurting too much to, I'm into, I'd love to go hiking, but my feet hurt, my knees hurt, my back hurts. I can't do it. That ain't right. So our goal is to resolve those issues so that people can live their lives and do the things that they want and need to be able to do. And I think that's a tremendous impact if we can do that.
That's awesome. And one last question. What new technology are you guys bringing? We've spoken about it before, but I want our audience to know, because this I think this is revolutionizing technology that can absolutely change veterans' lives.
Absolutely. I think there's two things. I'll give you the newest one and then an older one that's new again. The newest one, we have a device that we use that it's around a $70,000 piece of equipment. And it creates an impulse. The same device they use to break up kidney stones without doing surgery, but we're able to utilize that device and we can break up fibrotic tissues within a joint or within a tissue. Wow. So you've got somebody who maybe have lost functional range of motion in their knee. And by doing this, we can break up some of that scar tissue and create range of motion. We're in the process now of getting approved so we can do manipulation under anesthesia for our vets, which is even greater. Someone's got a frozen shoulder, break up scar tissue, create range of motion over a 20-minute period that they haven't had over years. And so those are two of the things that have been huge for us there. The next thing, and it's kind of neat, PRP, which was old, that we've been doing some things now with that, but to be able to take the person's own blood, spin it down, take their plasma, inject it into their joint. It doesn't solve every problem, but it does allow that joint to heal like you were 15 years younger than what it was. And so instead of using a steroid, which will decrease inflammation, it'll decrease pain, but it'll also cause the joint to break down faster too. And if you're diabetic, it's going to raise your blood sugar levels and it's going to create other problems. We use some other natural devices as well, and natural chemicals with our injections that don't do either of those things that they have allowed us to use, and it's been helpful. I think giving people options other than a steroid or something like that has been a big help for a lot of vets, that they don't have to keep getting that. They can get something else that's going to be more permanent. They don't have to keep going back getting injections every 30 days or 45 days or 60 days.
Yeah, I got those steroid injections in my knee, and it didn't help at all.
Yeah, well, again, it's we all have seen these old football players, and we know what they look like. 20 years after they get out. Why would I want to keep putting that in somebody, right? Yeah. There's better options. I'll guarantee you, I will guarantee you 100%. That when I'm about to get his name now, Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, I'll guarantee you he didn't go somewhere and get a steroid injection. I'll guarantee you that. I know Adrian Peterson didn't, when he had torn his ACL, he didn't go somewhere and get a steroid injection. So there are other and better methods. And our goal is to utilize those methods on our vets instead of some of the other stuff that doesn't seem to get. Some of it works for some people. They get it. They're happy. Hey, fantastic. But for those other folks, it's to find other answers and other solutions.
So last question, and we'll ask the audience if they have any questions. What is one thing that you could give our, listeners / followers on, Only Cola value? One thing of value.
I would say, one, learn how to find gratitude in everything. There's too many times things happen in our lives every day and people turn to it. Oh my gosh, this happened, this, oh, da, 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 da. It's like, wait, stop. You're alive? Yeah. You're breathing? Yeah. Okay. Thank goodness for that. What's next? And then focus on how do you resolve issues. Forget the problem. Problems are going to happen. Just focus on resolutions of issues. Focus on how do you take that and make it better, and just keep going. Stop spending so much time focusing on the bad stuff that happened or something negative that happened. You can put yourself out of business. I mean, I can't believe that happened last year. So what?
It's
I mean,
over.
it's
Let
gone,
it go.
man. It got to go. We got to move on. And if you're in a golf tournament, and you take a bad shot. Well, you can sit there and worry about that bad shot for the next 20 minutes. You're now out of the tournament.
Exactly.
You got to figure it out. Figure out how do you get out of this and keep going. So,
100%. Jerry, is there any questions from the audience at this point? Okay.
good stuff. Answered all the questions. I love it.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast. If you guys would like to be hosted on this podcast, give us a call at 706-705-7335. And then how can they get a hold of you, Dr. Cooper?
Real easy. Our main line is 877-495-7773. It's a toll-free number because all the clinics use it, and you just hit which extension depending upon where you're at, and they'll get you taken care of. It's 24 hours. They got somebody live to answer that. And our website is ChiMedical Management, ChiMedicalMGT.com. We have a lot of videos on there, a lot of the information on there. And you can contact the office that way as well. But just call, and if you're a vet, Stephanie will get back with you. If you're a federal employee, Tiffany or Nicole will get back with you. We have somebody that pretty much handles every aspect. Someone's in a car accident, Mary or two will get with you. We've got somebody, it's their job to make sure that patient's or that person's needs are handled, so they can be taken care of.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate everybody for listening and watching this. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Outstanding.
That was good.